NBC's Casey Hunt in Louisville. Thanks for that report. And now we bring in Brian Darling, who worked for Senator Paul as a Senior Communications Director and Counsel. Good day to you.
Good day to you. Great day.
Great day for Rand Paul fans. A lot of people talking about Rand Paul. You've actually worked closely with him. Explain the sort of dual message the campaign is launching today. On the one hand, a full-throated argument we saw in that speech as he quoted himself from his first campaign that he is every bit the same libertarian, principle-oriented conservative. And yet also we're seeing a big message officially from the campaign and allies all about electability, that he is a mainstream candidate, not just an ideological candidate, someone who has a path to the nomination in the White House.
Yeah, what he's saying is he's an anti-establishment candidate who can win, and the polling reflects that. If you look at a recent Quinnipiac poll, he was actually beating Hillary Clinton by 1 point in Pennsylvania. I think it shows that Hillary Clinton's support, I mean, she's really blowing away the Democratic field, but lately we've seen those numbers come backwards. And I think what his case is twofold. One is that I can win this race. If I win the nomination, I can go in and beat Hillary Clinton. He's taking it to Hillary Clinton, being very tough in his language, but he's also an anti-establishment candidate. He's not part of the Republican Party as we know it, in the sense that he's more libertarian. He talks about the Bill of Rights. He talks about his filibuster against drones. He's sued the president over the NSA spying program. He's got a different view in criminal justice reform and a very different view of foreign policy, in the sense that he's trying to have the balance between being somebody who supports the use of force, but on the other hand, he wants to be more restrained and not engage in nation building.
Yeah, I want you to speak a little bit more to that, but I agree. I thought his speech today was pretty flawless. As you were saying, announcement days are incredibly important and sets the tone for the campaign. I thought he had the right tone, the right energy, and he focused on things that really resonate with the base: liberty, balancing the budget, smaller government. He even mentioned term limits for Congress, something I'm very much in favor of. What makes Rand Paul different from everybody else is, as you were talking about, his authenticity and his willingness to go against even the establishment wing of the party on things like foreign policy. And he mentioned foreign policy in his speech today. He said, when it comes to terrorism, not only will I name the enemy, I will do whatever it takes to defend America from these haters of mankind. A bit different in terms of the tone that we've heard before. How much of a problem is this going to be? Because if he veers too much away from being an isolationist and he loses his base, the people that love him the most, but if he doesn't, then he could be in trouble as well.
See, I don't think it's inconsistent at all. It's consistent with the idea that he's in favor of liberty. He's fighting for liberty domestically, and he does not favor these ideologies that are very hostile to liberty. Radical Islam is hostile to liberty. He's somebody who's put forth his own declaration of war against ISIS. He wants to see ISIS defeated, but he also recognizes that you look back to the Obama administration, to the Bush administration, nation building not working. It's something that the American people don't want. They're war weary, and they want a balanced foreign policy. They want a realist foreign policy, but not one that overextends Americans. And I don't think many Americans are excited about fighting another war with ground troops. I just don't think Americans are ready for that. If you look at the polling data, we still live in a country where we want a restrained foreign policy, as Rand Paul says, peace through strength. But peace is very important.
Brian, one thing that's distinguished Rand that a lot of people have appreciated about him is he's been making very conscious efforts to reach out to the black community. We're talking about making trips to Howard University. We're talking about support for things like criminal justice reform, even though he's still saying things like take our country back, which I know a lot of black and brown people hear and say, who are you talking about taking it back from? But of course, the GOP brand has had a difficult time with black voters for many decades. How can Rand win over a significant sliver of that vote?
Well, I think, first of all, he wants to take it back from the establishment that's controlling Washington of both parties. But I think he's done a lot on restoration of voting rights. He's reached across the aisle to work with Harry Reid on a bill on restoration of voting rights. He's worked with Cory Booker on criminal justice reform for our juveniles in the country. He's looked at mandatory minimums. He's got a solution to that problem. If you look at his ideas, his own legislation, he's put forth more ideas and legislation, even looking back to Hillary Clinton when she was a United States Senator. I think she compares favorably, and if you care about civil rights, he's doing a great job in putting out ideas that I think most progressives should look at and take a second look at Rand Paul and understand what he's trying to do and maybe come around to supporting him.
Brian, we started this segment talking about electability and you pointing out that you think Rand has a good shot against Hillary Clinton. Let me ask you a little bit about some of the fringe associations from his past. Alex Jones, in particular, radio host, conspiracy theorist, who Rand Paul said he couldn't have won his Senate seat without Jones's support. Do you think that his associations with some of those fringe elements from the past will be a difficult issue for him to overcome in terms of being seen as electable and being taken seriously as a top-tier candidate?
I don't think so at all. I think he's going to stand on his own. He's his own man. He gave a great speech today explaining exactly what he stands for. And I can guarantee you many on the left are going to attack him. Many on the right, you're going to have neoconservatives who are already running ads against him because they fear his message. I think people need to look at him objectively and see who he is as a man, what he says, what he stands for, what he's done as a senator, and judge him on that and not try and look at some of his past associations of somebody he may have been on a program once. I think that's guilt by association, and I don't think it's fair.
Well, in fairness, he was on Alex Jones's program many more than one time. But Brian Darling, thank you so much. Really appreciate your perspective today.
Thank you.
And now to a developing story in D.C. Parts of downtown